Good morning, everyone. Leah Dixon here from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia. I am live this week with another card class to go. So it is Sale-a-bration, which is a fantastic time to do some stamping and increase your stamps and everything in your collection, restock your essentials like basic white paper, envelopes, adhesives, all of that kind of stuff, because for every $75 Canadian order you place, you actually get to earn free Sale-a-bration items. And then we have some kind of bigger like bundles and stuff with a $150 order. So today I am going to be showing you guys the One More Year stamp set. It's a new stamp set in our mini catalog, and I am pairing it up with the Sale-a-bration freebie called the Starstruck Embossing Folder. So I'm going to pop over to my desktop and give you guys a better view, and we're going to start creating. So here we go. So this week, when you place a $75 order, you will get your free Sale-a-bration item. And then you'll also get the card pack to make 2 each of the 3 cards I'm going to show today. So the first card we are making, so we're using the One More Year here. It's just got some great images, some funny little sayings. I absolutely love that dog. So cute. Our first card, though, is actually featuring the wine and cheese in there. And so it is aging fine like cheese and wine. And then we've got that beautiful Starstruck Embossing Folder in the background. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this card. It's actually really quick and simple. I'm going to move the card itself out of the way for a moment, because the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of basic white cardstock and we're going to run it through our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now, because of the size of paper I'm running through, I do have to use my big machine, and I don't normally show you guys, but today, because this is a regular embossing folder, I wanted to show you how it's a little bit different. I usually work with the 3D ones, but so this one's a little bit different in terms of sandwich and everything. So I'm actually going to get rid of like all my plates except for my number 1 base plate. And then I'm going to bring in one of my clear plates, my embossing folder, and I'm going to put my paper inside. Now, this pattern really, like, you could put it in all askew and it won't really matter because it's not got straight lines or anything on it, but I am going to try and line it up fairly straight. So paper's inside the folder. The fold is up here. We want to run the fold through first so the air can escape out the bottom. We've got our clear plate, and then we're going to put one more clear plate on top. So that's a little bit different than our 3D embossing folders. And then we're going to roll it through. Now, if you have a ton of resistance, stop and readjust your sandwich, but this one should work. All right, and that is our embossing done. So then we can pull this out, and you can see here we have that gorgeous pattern now on our paper. So that's how we work with our embossing folders that are not 3D. So now that I have that gorgeous background all done up with my Starstruck embossing folder, sorry, just get rid of that glare for you guys, we get to start putting this card together. So the first thing that I did to create this card was I grabbed my blending brush and some Blackberry Bliss ink, and I'm going to ink up my whole design. And it's actually going to just help it pop off the page a little bit more. So again, I'm going to move my card out of the way. I did put down a scrap just because Blackberry Bliss to clean it off my glass plate is possible, but we'll take up a bunch of video time. So now I'm going to hold this from the end so that I'm not really putting any pressure on my blending brush because I don't want to end up with a big dot. And I am going to start off my page in a circular motion and then move on to my page. That's going to prevent big blotches, too much color initially, and I might have to apply this a few more times just because I'm putting so little pressure on the actual brush head. but I'd rather apply a few more times to get the color I want than get a big blotch that I don't want. All right, so again, you can see off on the side how dark the initial touchdown was. So I don't want that on my paper. There we go. And so you can apply this so that you've got a really deep dark look to it, or you can keep it soft and subtle. That's going to be completely your preference. I'm going to give it just a little bit more here. I want those starbursts to really pop out. All right. And a little bit more right there. All right. So I am liking the look of that. That's got enough color on it to be considered purple now, not pink. And there we go. All right, so that is how I created my background. And I do love how adding color to this embossing folder, it really does stick to those raised bits more than it does to the background. And so those do stand out quite a bit more. All right, so with that done, I am now going to get 2 different ribbons. So this one is, I believe, on our last chance list. This is the Blackberry Bliss and Gold textured ribbon, and it is gorgeous. So I am going to come in here and cut a little strip that's just a bit wider than the piece of cardstock I just finished inking up. So I'm going to do that, cut that piece, and then I'm going to use Seal Plus. You can use anything, mini glue dots, glue, it all works. I like Seal Plus though because it grabs quickly. So I am going to kind of lie that out near the bottom of my card and flip it over and put a little bit of Seal Plus on the back. Now I'm only going to do one side, flipped over and into the adhesive. Then I'm going to come back and double check that this is straight. And then I'll tuck it behind into the adhesive. Okay, looks pretty good to me. All right, so that's done. I can now adhere this whole layer to my card front. And I'm going to do that with liquid glue. So when I apply my liquid glue, I like to use the wider end, get a dot, and kind of drag it along. And I even do a little dot on my ribbon. Okay, wipe off the excess in the center. Now my card base for this card is a Blackberry Bliss card base. So we will be putting a white insert inside this card because it's very hard to write on Blackberry Bliss. All right, so like that. And I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, so now we've kind of got the base of our card going here. The next thing I'm going to do is actually take a piece of the twisted gold thread and I'm going to put it under and tie a knot. Now, often I will just use one ribbon and tie a bow, but I find with a thicker ribbon like this one, the bow gets really bulky. And so one way to kind of still have a bow, but not have the bulkiness is to use some kind of linen thread and use it to cinch up the wider ribbon and to create your bow. So it creates a bit of a softer, less bulky look. So I'm going to pull that in tight and then I'm going to wrap it one more time so that I can get a nice knot on there. And so you can see my ribbons all cinched in. Now this can be moved around a little bit, not too much. I might have tied it too tight. Okay, so it is where it is. That's okay. It will work out. Oh my goodness, pick that up. Okay. So then I'm going to make my bunny ears with my gold thread. And just kind of play around with them until they sit the way you want them to. Okay, so I am pretty happy with that. I'm going to give this one more try to just move it over. Just want it over the tiniest bit, but it's really not going to. I'm worried about pulling it out of its adhesive on the back, so I'm not going to play with that. We'll just make it work. All right. So with that done, I am going to trim up the ends of my ribbon. So I just don't want them going off my card is basically what I'm trying to avoid here. Okay. So that is done. Now we can start working on the focal point of our card. And so that is going to be a piece of scrap paper to stamp our wine bottles, our circle from the Stylish Shape Circles, and then I'm also going to do a little bit of stamping on the piece that I'm putting on the inside of my card. So I'm actually going to grab all of these for right now. So I'm going to use Memento black ink. Now, I have gone ahead and taken the empty ink pad that we get with our white pigment ink, and I've just put Memento ink refill into it. This just allows me to be a little more mess free because I do find that the Memento ink can get a little messy when you're touching the packaging. All right, so I've got my sentiment here, aging fine like cheese and wine. And so I'll stamp that into my Memento black. And then I'm lining up the bottom of the E and the bottom of the C along the edges of my circle to do my stamping. And that's going to get it nice and close to the edges. All right, so we're done with that. Now I can grab my wine and cheese. All right, and I'm going to ink that up. And there we go. Beautiful. And then I'm actually going to put some more wine and cheese on the inside of my card. So just like that. And I don't even know if I did that on my original one. Oh, I didn't even put an insert on my original one. So I'm just going to take the time right now to stamp that. We could stamp this on our envelope too if you wanted. But I think for this one, I don't want to give away the card on the envelope. So I'm going to show you guys a different little trick with the envelope. All right. So put away my black ink. I'm all done with my black ink. I'll color that one up later. Put that off to the side. And actually, I'm going to color this one later as well because you guys don't need to watch me color it twice. So once you've colored it, we can just glue it to the inside of our card, or you can glue it before because, you know, we all know how to color. So it's the stamping I always worry about before gluing something in because that's where I'm likely to drop an ink pad or do something crazy and ruin it. So I like to do the stamping before I glue it in. All right, so I've got that glued in. Now I'm going to show you how I colored my images. So I'm using Stampin' Blends. If you don't have Stampin' Blends though, you can use anything. Use pencil crayons, use markers. Like these are all really small little pieces, and so they color up really nicely. All right, so I'm going to start with the pointy tip of my light Blackberry Bliss, and I am just coming in and coloring each grape. Now I am kind of coloring them individually. You could do a big swoop across, but I don't know. I worry I'll end up going out of the lines if I do that. So I just do each grape on its own. And then I'm going to go back in and color each grape with the bullet tip end again, but of the dark Blackberry Bliss. But this time when I color it, I'm actually just doing like a little line or a dot along the bottom of the grapes. So the top still has kind of like a lighter look to it, almost like light is reflecting off of it. Okay, so that's really hard to see so far away, but now you can see there's kind of two tones to the grapes there. And that's just by doing a tiny line or a dot along the bottom with the darker Blackberry Bliss. So I do love the blends for this in that we can really get some variation in color and tone and everything. Now I'm going to take my light Blackberry Bliss again, and I'm going to color in the wine in the wine glass. Okay, so just like that. And then I'm going to take my dark Blackberry Bliss, and just like I did for the grapes, I'm just going to put a little darkness along one side and create like that light and dark look to it. All right, so that is done with our Blackberry Bliss. I'm now going to color in the rest of my wine glass with light Pool Party. So this just gives our glass a color instead of being white like its background. Different glass has different tones. You could also use Wink of Stella for this and give it kind of a crystally shiny look. Oops, and I forgot. I was also going to do our bottle. I know our bottle's probably not going to have a nice blue tint to it if it's filled with red wine, but we'll just pretend it's one of those painted bottles that that is of an opaque color. All right, now I'm going to get my light Pretty Peacock and use it for the leaves of my grapes and the little vine. It's not super realistic in color for a grapevine, but I didn't want to bring in another color and like add a green into my color palette just for a single itty bitty leaf. If you have all the colors available to you, maybe you want to grab like a nice old olive or something. But I didn't want to add in the extra color for no reason. All right, and then we're going to finish off the bottle and the cheese with Peach Pie. So I'm going to start with my light peach pie. And I'm still using the bullet tip just because we're working in pretty tiny areas. And so I really don't want to overdo it with the big brush end. All right, and I'm also going to color my cheese. So I'm doing all of this coloring with light peach pie. And then I'm going to come back in with my dark peach pie, and again the bullet tip. And I'm going to add in some highlights, run down one side, run down this side of my label. On my cheese, I'm going to color in the holes on my cheese with the dark one. And then I'm also going to color the top and the edges of my smaller cheese. Okay, now I'm going to come back and blend that smaller one, just that edge that I did, and it's just going to give us a little depth to our cheese. And there we go. And actually I could come in here and just do that edge as well. There we go. All right. Okay, so that is our image all colored. Now we're going to fussy cut this. That's the one thing about this stamp set is as adorable as the images are, there are no dies or punches or anything to go with any of them. I really wish that they had made a die for this set. It would be really nice to have like the little image of the dog to be able to be punched out, but I guess, can't have dies for everything. So here we are fussy cutting. So come on in like this. This one's actually pretty quick and easy to fussy cut. I do like to leave a little white border. So I'm not getting too intricate, which is good because when you get over here to like the little swirlies on the grapevine and everything, good luck if you aren't leaving a white border. I think those are things that would just end up getting cut off. All right. And there we go. So we've got our image fussy cut. Now, before I apply it to my circle, I am actually just going to bring back that paper I was using for my blending. And I'm not even re-inking this. I'm just going to come in and do a little around the edges. So normally I would do a little blending behind the image, but this time with the white border and everything, I actually want the background still to be white, and I want this circle to just be a little less harsh on the background that I've got it on. All right, so I've just come in and without adding any color, I just added a little fringe of pink to our circle. So it's just going to soften it when we go put it on our card front. So I'm now going to take this and I'm going to tuck it in behind our bow and attach it to our card front using dimensionals. And I am going to attach it to our card front before I attach our wine bottles, because then I can make sure to get our wine bottles kind of looking straight. All right, so here we go. Got all my dimensionals there. And so I'm really focusing on the sentiment and helping to using the ribbon to guide like how straight my sentiment is. So I really do want it straight, and then my little ribbon bunch is right here in the corner. All right, with that done, now I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of my image and attach it to my circle. And I'm not worrying about the bottle top or anything. I'm just putting 2 dimensionals on there to hold the image. And it's okay if my bottle top pops off the top. In fact, I kind of want it to. All right, so you're kind of looking at the bottom of the wine glass to see what's straight. All right, and then we finish up by embellishing with some iridescent faceted gems. So I do like to use my Take Your Pick tool to get them off of the base, just because sometimes they can be a little sticky. I've got 2 little rogue baby ones over here. I'm going to go grab those. All right. And up there. And then one down over here. All right. So I love the faceted gems because they kind of pick up the peach pie and the blackberry bliss in here. Like they kind of really take on the pool party blackberry bliss and peach pie and shimmer with those colors. So it's really nice to have that kind of as the background accent. All right, that is our first card complete. Of course, you'd also want to color this. You'd color it the same way we colored the one on the front. And that is your card completed. Now, I said I had a little envelope trick for you because I didn't want to give away the card with the bottle of wine and everything by stamping that on my envelope. So I'm going to show you that now. I am going to get a basic white envelope, and we're actually going to decorate the flap of our envelope with our embossing folder. So I am going to bring back my machine, my big machine, and my base one, my 2 clear plates, and my embossing folder. And what we're going to do is actually put our embossing folder in, and we're going to put the edge of the embossing folder right to the fold of our envelope. And now this time, instead of putting it in with the fold first, because then this would obviously be too wide, I'm going to put it in. You can do envelope first or embossing folder first. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put it in so that our fold is along the side. And then I'm going to run this through. Oh, I just realized I didn't check which way this was embossing. Darn it. I might have just debossed. Oh, I didn't. Oh, phew. Okay. So you always want to be looking which way is it pushing in and which way is it pushing up. So this side's kind of more smooth. That's the side I want to be on the top so that my envelope embosses instead of debosses. And then you guys can see there, we have a beautiful embossed envelope flap. And so if you wanted to, you could sponge that with color. So it really matchy-matchies, but I kind of like it just the white embossed. I think that's really pretty. So that is how you can decorate your envelope. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to put that off to the side and bring you in our second card. So our second card is using Pretty Peacock as the base and as the ink. So I have got a ton of pieces here to work with. I'm going to start with just a 4 by 5 1/4 inch basic white piece here. And I'm going to show you now, if this might shock some of you. I took one of the stamped images. Where's the stamp case? Here we go. I took this one. It says, "Happy birthday, now back to me." I could never see myself putting that on a card, not even like in a joking way. I don't know. It's a sentiment that did not speak to me, but I really liked the font of this happy birthday. So I took a pair of scissors to my stamp because I didn't want to have to always be working hard to just ink up the happy birthday. So I took a pair of scissors to my stamp and I actually cut that second part off of my stamp. So now I just have the happy birthday. Now I didn't get rid of it. I cut it off nicely and I have it here just in case, I don't know, somebody ever requests that as a card. I don't know. I couldn't get rid of it, but it's there. I can reattach it or stamp it separately. But now I have this awesome happy birthday that I don't have to work hard to use. Okay, so for this, I am going to grab my scrap paper back again because we're stamping off of the page here again and blending off of the page. So I'm going to grab my Pretty Peacock ink, my newly amended happy birthday sentiment, and I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to find the first spot that I can stamp it fully across where I see the whole happy birthday. Now, looking at this, I did not stamp this full strength. All right. So I'm going to flip this over. That's the joy of something on my page. That's the joy of having your white cardstock, is you've got two sides to it. Yay. So the things I don't remember, and I just created these cards like 2 days ago. You'd think I'd remember that. So I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp my happy birthday where I can see it fully on my page. Now I'm going to use that as a guideline, and I'm going to keep stamping off, and above it I'm going to stamp my birthday. Okay, and then stamp off and stamp birthday, and we're going to kind of create this whole background of kind of like laid like bricks, like layered offset happy birthday, remembering to stamp off between each one. Okay, and I'm going off. I think I even need one more up here at the top. There we go. And maybe fill in some spaces there. Okay. Ooh, I almost stamped without going offset or without stamping off. All right. So we're just doing this across our whole card. Letting it fully go off the edges. In fact, right here, I might even, there we go. So if you know you're going to make a bunch of these, you can even just do a whole sheet of paper before you go ahead and cut them up. And then you've got a little less like filling in those edges along the gap like the gaps along the edges and stuff, because they'll just naturally fill in. Because you'll be stamping the whole page. There we go. And I don't know if that, no, didn't matter. Okay, there we go. So I have stamped happy birthday everywhere. Now, I think for this next envelope, you could do this to the envelope flap as well, and it would look really, really cool. So I'm just going to show you a little trick to stamping envelope flaps so that you don't get ink everywhere. We're going to take our little scrap piece of paper, we're going to fold it inside so that now my whole envelope is covered except for my flap. Okay, and then I can come in and again do that stamp off. I'm going to find that angle where my whole happy birthday is showing and then come in and work the rest of it. Now you do want to make sure that you're fully pressing down. I've missed my Y a few times here because I'm not clearly pushing down enough. There we go. Okay, and so we can decorate our whole flap like this, and just such a fun thing to get in the mail. This is very festive. I love this font. Like it's a happy font. There we go. All right, now before I take this out of its kind of encasing here, I am going to grab a blending brush and my pretty peacock ink. And just like I did before, I'm going to start off the page and then move on to the page. And I'm going to swirl some pretty peacock ink over top of that happy birthday sentiment. Now you can apply as much or as little as you want here. Get this as dark as you want or leave it as wispy and light as you'd like. All right, I am pretty happy. Get some white away there. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, so that's where I'm going to stop. And I'll just show you now. We have our beautiful envelope all decorated. So our little flap there with the happy birthday message all over it. So just such a pretty fun way to decorate an envelope. All right, now back to our original piece. We've stamped our happy birthday all over it. Now we need to do that same blending here so that we don't have a stark white background. So starting off my page, moving on. Now I like to do circular motions. I know some people do straight motions, like straight across. Some people do kind of like a little mix, kind of like when you're brushing your teeth, go up and down, side to side, do a little around. And so it really depends on how solid you want your color, what kind of look do you want to it all. So mine is a little like clouds right now, and I do kind of want to get rid of that look. So I am going to do a little bit of an up down now, just to help fill in any gaps. Okay, there we go. And always though, starting off the page. Okay. All right. I like that look now. All right, so you keep going until you're happy with the color, how the colors laid down, the darkness of the color, all of that. Okay, so I am happy with that. I'm going to close up my ink for a moment, and we're going to do a little bit of birthday card building now. So I've got that piece. I have got a piece of cardstock here that's been embossed already that fits across there nicely. This is a special piece that I wanted to show you. This is our ombre glimmer specialty paper. And this paper is just so beautiful. It comes in a pack of 6 pages. You actually get 3 different sheets. So you've got this one that goes kind of from like the orange to the pink to the purple. You've got from like the balmy blue to the, I don't know, Coastal Cabana, I guess. And then there's one more. Sorry, I should have had this open so you didn't have to hear that crackly. There's one more that is kind of like our lemon lime twist or daffodil delight, maybe all the way to lemon lime twist. Like it's kind of a greenish yellow. And so the sheets themselves are 12 by 12, and the ombre pattern goes right from the top of the page to the bottom, which means you don't get the full spectrum ever on a card because not many of us make 12-inch tall cards. But you can kind of pick and choose the spectrum that you do want. And so I've chosen kind of from the pinks to the purples for this card. I also have a little piece of Pool Party here, and it was a little bit boring to me. So I wanted to jazz it up with these little like fireworks. So again, I'm not going to do full strength. I am going to stamp off and then stamp them on my little pool party. And you can twist this around so you don't end up like having it look like we're just repeating the same stamp up and down the whole thing. All right, so just like that, we've got our little images on there now. So it's a little bit more festive. Okay, now this piece, I am going to trim the end off of it though, just on a little diagonal. I just want a little bit more interest there. Okay, so I can take my card base and these 4 pieces, and I'm going to just glue them together, like literally just liquid glue. All right. If you are here and watching me on Facebook or on YouTube, I'd love to know who's watching. So if you want to say hi in the comments, that'd be great. And let me know, did you see this One More Year stamp set in the mini catalog? Did it catch your eye? This one was, I think, like the first one. Like I saw it and I was just like, I have to have that. All right, so now I'm going to take my ombre piece. It doesn't really matter if you do the dark at the top or the bottom. That's going to be kind of personal preference. And I'm going to place it in about an inch in. There we go. Now I am centering it top to bottom, but I'm not worried about it otherwise. And then I'm going to take this little piece, and again, I'm centering it over my white layer so that it's kind of equal, and I'm overlapping it over my ombre glimmer. All right, there we go. So very, very nice. Now I got a little bit of glue on my card, but because I've got ink on here, I don't want to go in right away and erase it with my glue eraser because I'm worried about smudging the ink. So I'm going to let it dry some more before I go in and pick it up. Now this whole layer gets glued to our card base. There we go. And then I'm going to show you some fanciness for the inside of this card. We're going to do a little bit of fun stamping on the inside as well. Okay, so we've got that done. Now I'm going to grab the piece that will be the insert in my card, and I'm going to grab my scrap paper again and my pretty peacock ink. Ugh, it's hard to say sometimes. Right, I'm going to take these little firework bursts, and do a stamped off version. And just trying to kind of mix it up here. So I'm not doing the same imaging the whole way down. There we go. And maybe a little bit more up here. There. All right, so I've just put some fireworks down the edge of my page. And now I am going to add some pretty peacock to this, but not all the way in. I'm just inking to the edge of where I stamped those images. So it's creating like a really nice soft look on the edge and not going all the way across my cardstock. So we've just got kind of a fun little decoration along the edge of our card there before we go and glue this into the inside of our card. Okay. Now we could have done something like that to our envelope flap as well, but I really like the happy birthday on the outside. Okay, here we go. So we're going to glue that inside as straight as we can. This is why I use liquid glue. There we go. All right, so what a fun inside to our card. Now we get to finish our front. So to finish our front, I've got 3 little pieces here. I've got a piece to stamp our cake, a background piece, and a piece for our sentiment. Okay, so let's start with our cake. I'm going to take our cake and some Memento black ink. Yikes. All right, and I'm going to just ink that up and stamp it onto our paper. So there we have our beautiful little cake. And we are going to color our cake with blends again. Now, like I said before, if you don't have blends, don't worry about it. Just color it how you'd like. All right, so I'm going to start with dark peach pie. And I'm going to color just the flames on my candles. And like they're open flames, they're not fully enclosed. So you're just doing like a quick dab of color on the flamish area. Then I'm going to take my light bubble bath, and for this one I'm going to use the wider tip, and I am just literally swiping pink down over top of that black line, and it's kind of going everywhere. Oh, you know what? I think I might have used dark because that seems really light. So let's do that again in dark. Okay. So yeah, that's better. All right, so dark bubble bath, and it's really just creating like a big pink blob on there. Like it's not a big deal. Okay, next thing is Blackberry Bliss. We're going to use the light one, and we're going to do the icing on our cake. So I'm using the thin tip because I am going in and doing that tiny line. Now I'm coloring the whole cake top and then down into those icing drips. And so press lightly when you do this so it doesn't go all out of the lines, and definitely use the fine tip on this. Okay, so a little bit of concentration needed. Okay. Now I'm just going over some of this a little bit more, kind of adding some darkness just to my outside edges. There we go. And now I'm going to use dark crumb cake for my cake. Now, when I color my cake, I'm actually going to color straight across, like whole sweeping motions all the way across my cake. And I'm going to do that as much as I can for the top of my cake as well. Obviously, we get to these little spots where we have to go up into the little crevices, but where you can keep a side-to-side motion, let's keep it. Okay. Now with that done, I'm going to come back in and just color a little bit, like just a short stroke in on the one side, and then same on the other side, just a short stroke in. And what that's going to do is add some darkness to the outside and create kind of like that illusion of a roundness to our cake. Okay, and then if you feel like that line is too dark, just get your broader tip and do one more full across stroke, and that will kind of even out, blend in any of that, but still keep kind of the darker outside edges. All right, and then finally for our cake, we're going to color the base in Pool Party, light Pool Party. Almost like it's on a little glass tray or something. Okay. And then I am going to give it a little bit more darkness to this one edge, just by coloring it a bit more. The more color you lay down, the darker it will get. All right, so there we go. So I'll show you guys that kind of up close. So there's our little cake all colored in. It's so cute. And now this is going to get fussy cut, but just like with the wine bottles, not too fussy. We do want to leave a little white border here, and I'm not going to get fussy around the candles. We're really going to do a kind of clean sweep across the tops. All right. With our candles, I'll follow like the ups and downs, but I'm not like getting in between them and doing anything crazy. Okay. There we go. So Sale-a-bration has been so much fun so far for me, but it's also been really challenging because there are so many great products in that Sale-a-bration catalog. And so it's been a real challenge deciding which ones to get. Because of course you can't get them all. So that's been hard. What have your favorite Sale-a-bration products been so far, you guys? All right, so now I'm going to stamp my sentiment on here. And the sentiment I'm using is, at least you're not as old as you'll be next year. So do I have that on a block? It doesn't look like it. Okay, so I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to clean up my happy birthday and put it away so that I have a block. So blocks are one thing that's on my list of things to buy this celebration, so I can earn some freebies while getting something that's not truly a necessity, but it sure would make my life easier, because like right now I'm all packed up for an upcoming class. And so that means my blocks are all packed up. They're all in use. So I'm really running thin here. So now to stamp this, I'm going to turn it vertically. And then I am going to stamp that and hope for the best. The alternative to the way I just did that is get a bigger piece of paper, stamp your sentiment, and then trim it down to the size you want. I do it the crazy way, and it works sometimes. If that didn't work, I can always flip it over. There's another side to this piece of paper, and we could have gone from there, gotten another piece of paper if I needed, but usually I can get it done in two goes. All right, so now I am just going to take my snips, and down at the bottom of the R, I'm just going to cut on a diagonal up and away, just on the one side. You could do both sides if you wanted, but I just like doing the one side. All right, so we've got that done, and then we're going to decorate our little circle. Now I'm going to bring back my scrap piece of paper again to decorate my circle. Oh, and I'm going to have to clean these guys because we're going to go back to Blackberry Bliss. I just wanted to tie in the shimmery paper a little bit. So we're going to pull in some Blackberry Bliss here. So I'm going to do, again, stamped off little starbursts. And did I stamp them just once? No, I did them twice. So stamp, stamp, then onto your image. Stamp, stamp, onto your image. So really muting it. And I'm kind of stamping the whole thing. Oops. Oh, wasn't that big of a deal. There we go. So I've stamped my whole circle in Blackberry Bliss. And then without getting more ink again, I'm bringing in my Blackberry Bliss brush, and I'm just going to add some color to the edges of this circle. So again, kind of keeping the center white. There we go. All right. So we've added just a tiny bit of color to that. Now we have all of our bits ready to apply them to our card, and I think that might be dry enough as well. That I can come in with my glue eraser and pick up the stickiness that I left behind. So I had accidentally dropped my all glued up piece of embossed paper and got some glue on there. So Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell these glue erasers anymore. Unfortunately, it's been a long time, decades, I think, since they sold them. But you can still get them like on Amazon and stuff. They are a lifesaver. Okay, we're going to take our little circle and some dimensionals. And we're going to pop it onto our card front. And I am putting it on so that it somewhat overlaps my pieces here. All right, so kind of top to bottom over the white and then overlapping my two side pieces as well. Now I'm going to get my sentiment and I'm going to put it down here. I want to make sure that it fully stays on my card and it's kind of down at the bottom of this. So I'm going to actually put my dimensional on my card where I want that to come out. And then on the other side here, you can just do like a little dab of glue or a mini glue dot or whatever you'd like. All right, there we go, a little dab of glue. Now peel that off and pop this on. There we go. Now that's in place. And then finally, I'm going to take my cake with dimensionals and pop that onto my card front. And with my cake, I kind of want it to overlap my stripes, overlap the corner of my sentiment, like it's kind of overlapping everything. There we go. And then we are going to add our iridescent faceted gems again. All right, so let's see. Use up my last little one here in this packet, and I'm going to pop it down here in that little space, and then I can actually get rid of that. There we go. All right, and then up here we'll put a few to decorate. All right, and that is our second card all done. So that one was a little bit more stamping, like we did a lot of work to create the different elements on this one. But it's super fun. And you could speed up this whole process if you've got like a designer series paper you want to use and a designer series paper for there. Like there's a lot of stamping that we did to create a look that you could easily just use designer series paper for. All right. Now, our last card in this week's card class to go is, I think, my favorite because it's got the dog. I absolutely love this dog. And then it also has the other half of that shimmer paper that goes from orange to pink. Get the shimmer going for you guys. So I love it. So sweet. So this time, instead of just a tiny scrap, I used a full top to bottom piece, but in color this time. And that's how we're going to create the background for our card. So I have got 2 pieces of this gorgeous shimmer paper and then our embossed layer. And I'm just going to glue these behind so that, I don't know, just a little less than a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/4 inch shows on each side. So that's our first job, is to glue those pieces. So the way I do that is take my embossed layer and flip it over. And then you can use liquid glue if you want to have like a little maneuvering ring, or you can use Seal Plus. And I like Seal Plus for this one just because although I don't get maneuverability now, I get a very fast hold and I can keep putting my card together without waiting for anything to dry. So I'm going to use the Seal Plus today and take a chance. So I've got Seal Plus down both sides. Now I'm going to come in and line this up, and if I don't have the 2 pieces exactly the right length, just make sure you line them up at one end, and then we can use our snips to trim the other end. Sometimes, I cut them both the same, but then when I emboss this one layer, it kind of changes the shape of the paper because it's got to push some of the paper somewhere, right? So sometimes embossed layers end up getting a little short on one side, and if the side they got short on was the length, then you've got a bit of a problem. So we just fix that problem by coming in here with some snips and snipping off the excess. There we go. Okay, so with those 2 strips adhered to our embossed layer, I can now take this whole layer and add it to my card front. And for that, I will use liquid glue. So just come in here with my liquid glue and run that along the 4 sides and wipe off the extra. Now, this card I have designed so that the fold is on the top. I don't do that very often, but this particular layout really calls for it. Okay, so there we go. Now we have our card front all ready to do some work on it. So we have got all of our shapes today, all of our die cut shapes today are from the Stylish Shapes dies. So we have got our banner to stamp our happy birthday. We've got the largest square here that we're actually going to turn sideways so it's not a square, and then a piece to stamp our dog, and then of course our insert to go inside our card. So we're doing a lot of our stamping in Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to start with our dog though in Memento Black. So here's our little doggy, Memento Black, ink him up. Oh my gosh, he is so funny and cute. And you know what? I didn't want to do the wine and cheese as a spoiler alert on my first envelope, but this dog is too cute not to put inside our card and on our envelope. So here we go. We're going to do that. Now, when I do the envelope one, I'm not going to fully stamp him on my envelope though. I'm just going to have him kind of peeking in from the side. So there we go. He is so ridiculous. And inside we will stamp him fully though. All right. There we go. Oh my gosh, he's funny. I love him. So now we get to color him. I'm not going to color the one that goes inside or the one for the envelope. I'll just show you guys all the coloring on the one that's going on our card front. So I always start with the things that are quick and simple. So let's do his tongue. Light bubble bath. And then you can use the dark bubble bath just to go over the little line on his tongue and give it a little oomph. I don't know. All right. His nose. Light black. Don't use dark black. It's way too dark. So light black allows some of the lines still to show through. All right. His party hat is dark peach pie. And I'm going to start with the very top triangle and then the next triangle, next stripe, and then that bottom stripe. Okay. So fun. And then we're going to do light blackberry bliss. And let's party up that pom-pom and the little stripes on his hat. There we go. Now we get to color our little doggy. So I'm going to use dark crumb cake and color his ears, his tail, his toes, his little wrinkles on both sides, his eyebrows, his muzzle, and his little whisker dots. All right, so that's all in dark crumb cake. And then I'm going to come back with light crumb cake and just blend his toes a little bit and blend his muzzle a little bit and come up around his eye to the other side and go all the way around his eye. There we go. And that just gives him a little bit of color. All right, so he's all done. And now we can fussy cut him. Now, when I fussy cut him, I do get a little bit fussy in that I do go in between his head and his ears. I don't know why. It just doesn't seem right not to. So we don't have to be too fussy around his pom-pom. Just leaving a little white edge. Come on down around his ears. And now here I just cut that off. And I'm going to come on in. And I don't know why, I feel the need to go up in there. Now with his tail, I don't go down inside. I just fussy cut around it. His ears just need a little bit more. Okay. I just like to get rid of excess paper when I can. And I've got a good clean cut off. And even his toes here, I don't get too crazy. I didn't go in between the two close ones. All right. And now up to this other ear. And again, I'm really going to cut in. And then you're going to even cut in again to get really nicely up in there. All right. And this one, I'm actually going to come and trim that a bit closer. I feel like that's a bit wide. Oops. All right, so he's probably the finickiest. Well, he doesn't have to be, but I make him the finickiest of the three images to cut. All right, so he's all done and ready to go onto our card, but we need to get our two pieces that go behind him done. So this is where we get our Blackberry Bliss ink back. Oh, I washed up the happy birthday because I forgot I'm using it again. All right, so we're going to do your how old in dog years you'd be, and we're going to put that on our square, kind of down, like you're looking at where the in and the dots beside the B are, and you're putting it across your square in kind of like a little diagonal like that. Now I'm going to clean this up and get back my happy birthday that I mistakenly put away. All right. So this is where having just that happy birthday though all by itself is so nice, because I don't have to worry about inking up just part of the sentiment. Now it's totally doable. I would use a piece of tape to cover that other sentiment, and then take the tape off after inking up the image, but this is just so much nicer. There we go. Happy birthday. Now we still need our Blackberry Bliss, and we're going to bring back our scrap paper because we're going to do a little bit more stamping with that little firework. Now what color is this? Oh good, it's Blackberry Bliss. So again, double stamp off. Okay, we want that nice and light. Okay, and so we've stamped. Oh, let's do the top corner too. There we go. Oops, I only stamped off once. And that doesn't matter too much. Okay, so there we go. We've got our double stamped off. And then on our happy birthday, we're doing it here too, but we're not stamping over our happy birthday. We're just stamping around it. There we go. So I stamped all around my happy birthday with the double stamped off Blackberry Bliss. Now, last thing is we're going to take our blending brush again, our Blackberry Bliss ink. This time I did re-ink it. And we are going to do our whole square in Blackberry Bliss ink, giving it a really nice pinkish purple color. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. All right, now we are ready to attach these to our card front. So let's move that out of the way. Bring in our card front again, and I'm going to take this piece on dimensionals and attach it to my card base. I had like I had dimensionals. So I'm doing one in each corner and one in the center. Come on. There we go. There we go. And so this square we're actually putting on a diagonal to create kind of that diamond shape. And I'm really working to have that sentiment be straight. There we go. Oops, not totally straight, but that's okay because we're going to put our banner on next. I had a banner. There we go. And I'm putting it on as well with dimensionals, making sure that it stays on the card front. So just 2 dimensionals there. And putting it above the You're How Old, off the edge, and on the card. Okay, there we go. So You're How Old. And then we're going to take our little doggy and attach him here beside the happy birthday. Now, I'm not putting another dimensional under him where he goes over the banner, but what I can do is put a dimensional here and here, because I know that those areas are going to get covered up. And then if you're really worried about his head and his hat, you can come in with a dimensional up where you think he'll be off the page or off the square, the diamond, and I'm going to double dimensional it. Okay, so let's peel all those off. and sit him down on the banner, just like that. And then the last thing, of course, is to add our iridescent faceted gems. And so I kind of came up here, filling in any gaps up here, and then down below. Oh, yeah, come on. And then down here, and actually, maybe I'll put it off just like that. That looks nice. All right, so that is our, actually, I don't like that. I do want it to stay on the purple. Oops, might not be coming off. Oh, there we go. We can get it off. There we go. I'll put it right there. Oh, I brought some paper with me that I don't want, though. All right. So with this one, I brought some paper and it's kind of stuck to the adhesive. So I'm not going to be able to use the adhesive that came on this gem. That doesn't make this gem garbage though. It just means I have to adhere it in a different way. So I'm going to take off the old adhesive. And then you've got a few choices. You could use a mini glue dot or my preferred. So I'm just going to come in with a dot of glue. There we go, tiny dot of glue. And now I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, but I'm going to use the putty end of it. Oops, don't stick. It's actually got more stick to it still than I thought it would. Wow, okay. There we go, putty end, pick it up, and then put it down into my glue dot. Okay, so that is our third card all done. Oh, no. Oh, I didn't do the inside. Right, where did I put that? So I have our little doggy here, and I'm going to color him up, but before I put him in, I am also going to put just a few little confetti fireworks bursts around him before we put him in. So now I can add him in and give him some color, and that is our third card all done. So, oh, come on. Yikes. There we go. So go ahead and do that. Add that into our card. And there we go. That is the third card for today's card class to go, featuring one more year and the Starstruck Embossing Folder. So let me bring all of these back. These fun cards. So the three cards, the color palette kind of goes together. And that is our card class to go. So when you place a $75 order with me using my host code, you will get your free Sale-a-bration item, obviously the products you ordered, as well as the cardstock needed and like the fancy DSP and the faceted gems and the ribbon bits and all of that to make 2 of each of these designs. So I hope you guys liked this one more year card class. This is open and available to use the host code until next Tuesday night. Next Wednesday, I'll be cutting and mailing these packets. So that is it. You've got 1 week to place an order using your host code to get the card kit for this one. And I will see you next Wednesday with another Sale-a-bration card class. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week and that you enjoyed these. I'd love to have you guys comment. Let me know if you have this stamp set. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye.